Shadaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitanstam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gauranga Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gauranga
Hare Krishna, Premasindhu, Gauranga, Prabhu, pranams once again. Let me spotlight. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. We welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Premasindhu Gauranga Prabhu, and he will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 10th chapter, and texts 10, 16, and 17. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, over to you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakammalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padavan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauranga Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna. So I welcome all of you to today's Bhagavatam class. So in this particular section, we see that Jada Bharat was carrying the palanquin of Maharaj Raghugan, and eventually Maharaj Raghugan, he understands that this person is not an ordinary person, and so Maharaj Raghugan is going to start a conversation with Jada Bharat, and Jada Bharat is going to instruct him about certain spiritual principles. So here in these 2-3 verses, 16, 17, we see that Maharaj Raghugan has found out that Jada Bharat is not an ordinary person as he had been thinking, but rather he is some very advanced personality and who is disguised as an ordinary person. And so he is very much afraid of offending a great personality. So in these two verses, 16, 17, Maharaj Rahugan expresses that he is very much fearful of offending a Brahmana, an exalted personality. And in the next two verses, 18, 19, he asks Jad Bharat that he wants to inquire about absolute truth, and also he requests Jad Bharat that Jad Bharat should instruct him in spiritual life. So basically, and then from the next verse onwards, verse 20th, Maharaj Rahugan is asking certain questions to Jad Bharat. So basically, these two verses we are covering today, 16, 17, but 18, 19 are also part of the same theme there. So Maharaj Rahugan is afraid of offending a great personality, and then finally he wants to inquire. Why he wants to inquire? Because he understands that Jad Bharat is a great personality. That is why he wants to inquire. So let us read these two verses, 16th and 17th. And we will also discuss something about what Jad Bharat tells, what is discussed in the next two verses, 18th and 19th. Because this is a theme, these four verses. And then from 20th onwards, Maharaj Rahugan is asking certain questions. So in the verses 18th and 19th, it is described that who is a qualified teacher. And Rahugan, Maharaj Rahugan, he understands that Jad Bharat is an exalted personality and thus a qualified teacher. And so he wants to learn from him. So what we will do, we'll read 16th, 17th, and because 18th, 19th are not there, so as today's verses, so we'll just read the translation. And then we'll see that who is a qualified teacher? What are the qualifications which are mentioned by our acharyas for a qualified teacher? And we will see that what are the implications of this principle in the modern world or in our lives. So we will learn this principle from Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha. We will take some verses which Jiva Goswami quotes from Brahma Vaivarta Puran in Bhakti Sandarbha. And we will understand the principles which Prabhupada writes in the purports here from there. So we'll begin with 16th and 17th verse. Okay. So can you see the shared screen here?
Yes, Prabhuji.
So this is the 16th verse. Kastam nigudascharasi dvijanam bibarshi sutram katomo vadhutah kasyasi kutratya ihapi kasmat shema yanaschet asinota shuklah. So the translation goes like this. King Rahugan said O Brahman, you appear to be moving in this world very much covered and unknown to others. Who are you? Are you a learned Brahmana and saintly person? I see that you are wearing a sacred thread. Are you one of those exalted, liberated saints such as Dattatreya and other highly advanced learned scholars? May I ask whose disciple you are? Where do you live? Why have you come to this place? Is your mission in coming here to do good for us? Please let me know who you are. So we see here that King Rahugan, he wants to, his main motive or his desire is to inquire from uh, Jadabharat because he has understood that he is a great person. So although in the beginning of the verse we see that he is saying that I am very much afraid, that he'll see in the next verse he will say that. So initially it seems that he is afraid very much of offending him, but immediately he also expresses his heart's desire. He wants to inquire that who is this person and why he wants to inquire. Because a disciple should know who the Guru is. That we will understand when we discuss from Bhakti Sandarbha. So the disciple should know that who the Guru is, and he should know what is the consideration of learning from or choosing a exalted Guru who can guide him. And so there are certain inquiries which are being made here by Rahugan. So Prabhupada writes in the purport, Maharaj Rahugan was very anxious to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge. So that is his main desire here, which is further explained in verses 18th and 19th. So he wants to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge because he could understand that Jadabharat belonged to a Brahman family, either by disciplic succession or by birth in Brahman dynasty. As stated in the Vedas, that Vijnanartham sa Gurum evabhigachet. Rahugan was accepting Jadabharat as Guru. But a Guru must prove his position not only by wearing a sacred thread, but by advancing knowledge in spiritual life. So the disciple is also required to know if the Guru is advanced in spiritual life. He is advanced in spiritual knowledge. Only then he can be guided properly. And so that is what Maharaj Rahugan is trying to inquire here, because he wants to receive further enlightenment in Vedic knowledge. Prabhupada writes further, it is also significant that Rahugan asked Jad Bharat which family he belonged to. So this question is not very relevant. That we'll understand when we discuss later from Bhakti Sandarbha. If the Guru is very exalted, this question is not very relevant. Although if he is coming from a very exalted family, then he is to be respected, because those qualities of the family are going to come in him as well. So we'll discuss about this point later, about family lineage, how important it is for the disciple to inquire from his Guru that from which lineage he comes. So Prabhupada writes further, there are two types of families, one according to dynasty and other according to disciplic succession. So one who is born as a Brahmana or who is born in the family of gurus, another who is practicing spiritual life as a disciple. He may not be born in an exalted dynasty. So in either way, one can be enlightened. The word Shukla refers to a person in the mode of goodness. If one wants to receive spiritual knowledge, he must approach a bona fide Brahman Guru, either in the disciplic succession or in the family of learned Brahmanas. So either he should be a disciple of a great guru, or great personality, Parama Guru. Parama Guru means a very exalted guru. Or he should be in a family of learned Brahmanas. So either of the things can be there to receive enlightenment. So now in the next verse, 17th, Naham Vishanke Suraraj Vajran Yatrakshashula na Yamasya Dandat Nagni Arka Somanila Vitapa Traj Shankhe Vrisham Brahma Kulavamanat. So here in this verse, King Rahugan is expressing his fear of offending a great personality. The great personality who is either born as a Brahmana or who is born in the family of gurus, or who may not be born in a great family, but he is great by the dint of his spiritual practice. So the translation says, "My dear sir, I am not at all afraid of the thunderbolt of King Indra, nor I am afraid of the serpentine piercing trident of Lord Shiva. I do not care about the punishment of Yamraj, the superintendent of death, nor I am afraid of fire, scorching sun, moon, wind, nor the weapons of Kuvera. Yet I am afraid of offending a Brahmana. I am very much afraid of this." Prabhupada writes, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was instructing Rupa Goswami at the Shashwamedh Ghat in Prayag, he pointed out very clearly the seriousness of offending a Vaishnava. He compared the Vaishnava to Atimat, a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a garden, it spoils all the fruits and flowers. Similarly, if one offends a Vaishnava, he spoils all spiritual assets. Offending a Brahmana is very dangerous, and this was known to Maharaj Rahugan. He therefore frankly admitted his fault. There are many dangerous things: thunderbolts, fire, Yamraja's punishment, the punishment of Lord Shiva's trident, and so forth, but none is considered as serious as offending a Brahman like Jad Bharat. Therefore, Maharaj Rahugan immediately descended from his palanquin and fell flat before the lotus feet of the Brahman Jad Bharat, just to be excused. So we'll just read the translations of the next two verses, because these two verses speak about the desire of Maharaj Rahugan to learn, and also he speaks that he understands that Jad Bharat is a very qualified personality, and that is why he wants to learn from him. That is why he wants to accept him as Guru. So you can read the purport yourself in your next class, but I'll just read the translation, then we'll discuss. So this is the 18th verse. My dear sir, it appears that the influence of your great spiritual knowledge is hidden. Factually, you are bereft of all material association and fully absorbed in the thought of the Supreme. So you see, Maharaj Rahugan is also an intelligent person. And Jad Bharat hasn't spoken yet. He has not answered Maharaj Rahugan's inquiries. But Maharaj Rahugan, who is himself on the way to meet Kapila Muni, so he is intelligent enough to understand that Jad Bharat is fully absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme. He says further, consequently, you are unlimitedly advanced in spiritual knowledge, So someone who is fully absorbed in the thoughts of the Supreme is to be considered unlimitedly advanced in spiritual knowledge. Please tell me why you are wandering around like a dullard. O great saintly person, you have spoken words approved by the yogic process, but it is not possible for us to understand what you have said. Therefore, kindly explain it. So previously, also, Jada Bharat has spoken some words about yogic process. There are different types of yogas, and sometimes the different yoga practices mix also. So he wants to understand further what Jada Bharat has said. Also, in the next verse, 19th, he is saying, I consider your good self the most exalted master of mystic power. That is yoga. You know the spiritual science perfectly well. You are the most exalted of all learned sages, and you have descended for the benefit of all human society. You have come to give spiritual knowledge, and you are a direct representative of Kapila Deva, the incarnation of God, and the plenary portion of knowledge. I am therefore asking you, O spiritual master, what is the most secure shelter in this world? So here he is asking further questions and is accepting Jada Bharat as the spiritual master. So in these 4 verses, we see that Maharaj Raghugan has understood that Jada Bharat is a worthy personality to be accepted as Guru. And because he is an intelligent person, he does not accept Guru blindly. So he has understood the qualities of Jada Bharat, and that is why he is accepting him as Guru. So, as the verse said, that there are various yogic paths, and many times the paths cross each other. For example, Kirtan is basically a part of Bhakti Yoga, but nowadays, in the present society, we see that the adherents of Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, they may not be following Ashtanga Yoga properly, but they claim different yoga systems, they also do Kirtan. So, to be successful on a path, one has to understand that path clearly and properly. And for that, one needs a qualified teacher. So, in these 4 verses, we see that Raghugan is listing out the qualifications of a teacher, a guru. So, you can again read the 4 verses later on and make a list of the qualities of a teacher. So, such a teacher or a guru, he does not only need the prerequisite knowledge, knowledge is definitely required, but he also needs the proper intention, and he also needs to be on a stage where he is tasting transcendence. Only then he can make others taste what is transcendence or spiritual life. So now let us understand this more clearly from Srila Jiva Goswami's Bhakti Sandarbha, where he quotes from Brahma Vaivarta Puran 3 verses. So we'll read these 3 verses first, and then we can discuss further. Are you able to see the shared screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. So the first verse, it tells about the qualifications of a teacher. So Saraga and Niraga, two types of teachers are explained here. So it says that, just read the translation here. An instructor can be of two types: those who are attached, Saraga, Vakta Sarago Nirago Dvividaha, Parikirtitaha. Vakta means speaker. So two types of speakers are there, Saraga and Niraga. So Saraga means someone who is attached, who is covetous, he wants to take things from you in the garb of a teacher or a guru. And externally it seems he is very advanced, but internally there are problems. So he is attached basically. And other one is Niraga, that is someone who is not attached. So Saraga is greedy, selfish. His words do not resonate with the student's heart. So he might speak very lofty things, but when he's speaking, it will not affect people. So we'll see some examples in modern day society that how to relate with this. So this type of teacher only gives instruction without testing the student. So teaching without testing leads to downfall of society. So there are two types of students who are mentioned in this first verse. One is attached, one is not attached. So clearly Maharaj Rahugan has understood that Jad Bharat is Nirag. He is not attached at all. So the way he is moving around in the world, he is not attached person and he does not want anything. Now the Niraga Vakta, or someone who is not attached, in same Brahma Vaivarta Puran it is said. So Kulam Shilam Athacharam Avicharya Param Guru. So if someone is eager to learn, they should choose a highly realized teacher, Param Guru, who is skilled in experiencing deep spiritual enjoyment. So this is what we discussed earlier also. The knowledge is not sufficient. So the Saraga teacher who is attached, he is also giving instruction. He might be expert in doing some katha also, where people cry, and so might be a very good speaker or influencer. But unless the person is experiencing the spiritual enjoyment himself, he cannot give it to others. So if someone is eager to learn, they should choose a teacher who is skilled in experiencing deep spiritual enjoyment and he is full of realized truth, regardless of the teacher's family background, actions, or behavior. So we see that Maharaj Rahugan, he had asked about the family background of Jad Bharat, which is not very essential, considering that Jad Bharat is a Paramahamsa. So we don't ask the family background. So if a person is very advanced in spiritual life and he is tasting spiritual rasa, then it is not so important to understand his family background, his previous actions or behavior. So in another place in the same Purana, it is mentioned that a guru's skill in experiencing spiritual joy, Sarasatva, is important because only a teacher who is deeply immersed in this joy can share the same experience with others. And this is a mistake which modern day people they commit, that they choose a personality. It might happen with us also. We should also be careful. So if you want to associate with people and get spiritual knowledge, we should choose a personality who has knowledge and who also is immersed in the joy of spiritual life. Not only a person who is good in influencing others. Because unless a person is himself immersed in spiritual joy, he cannot share the same experience with others. Perhaps for a few moments, when we are hearing someone who might be a good or who might be good in influencing people in different ways, one might feel externally some feelings which are basically on a mental platform. But to bring about a change of heart, it is important that one chooses a guru like this. Now, the third verse, again in the same Anucheda, it says that a highly uh, enlightened teacher can help even those overwhelmed by desire and anger. Kama krodhadi yuktopi, kripanopi vishadaman. So, whether someone is affected by kama krodha or one is a kripana, he is miser, he is miserable or feeling deep despair. So, a person, when he comes in contact with a guru who is experiencing spiritual life, who is himself immersed in spiritual joy, then even a person who is dipped or immersed in kama krodh, or who is completely miserable, even he experiences opening of his heart, blossoming of his heart. That is possible, and that we have all seen in our own lives. So we were all products of Kali Yuga, and when we came in touch with this process, which was given by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then our hearts, which are like stones, they also experienced blossoming. So that is possible. So that is possible when we come with in touch with people who are themselves experiencing the opening and blossoming of their hearts. So otherwise we see that people go in so many kathas, thousands of people attend, and momentarily people get some emotions also. But it does not result in a change of heart. So now, because a guru of this caliber may not be available, some people accept many teachers. Jiva Goswami says that to find this kind of guru is very difficult. So people might accept many teachers. So in the 11th canto, Lord Dattatreya, he says, Nahi ekasmat gurur jnanam susthiram syat supushkalam. Brahmaitat advitiyam vai giyate bahuda rishibhi. What he says, although the absolute truth is one without a second, the sages have described him in many different ways. Therefore, one may not be able to acquire very firm or complete knowledge from one spiritual master. So people go here and there, they accept different gurus, and they might uh, quote this example or similar verses from Puranas. So here Lord Dattatreya is speaking about his own example, the 24 gurus which he accepted. So all of them were not personalities. So most of them were from nature or nature herself. So Prabhupada explains that how to understand this verse. So people in this world, they may go to different gurus, But how to understand this? Prabhupada writes, quoting from previous acharyas, Prabhupada writes here, Sridhar Swami comments on this verse as follows. The statement that one requires many spiritual masters certainly needs explanation, since practically all great saintly persons of the past did not take shelter of many spiritual masters, but rather accepted one. You know, so mm, so basically, merely by hearing from many different authorities, one cannot actually learn the highest perfection of life. The proliferation of differing spiritual authorities is useful only to counteract the living entity's tendency to be grossly materialistic. So different spiritual philosophers create faith in the existence of the soul and may be accepted at that level. But as will be clarified in later verses, the spiritual master who ultimately gives perfect knowledge is one. Further, Prabhupada writes that Srila Jiva Goswami comments as follows in this verse. Since it is commonly understood that one is to accept a single spiritual master, why is it recommended that one learn from so-called spiritual masters appearing in the forms of ordinary material objects? Lord Dattatreya, he accepted many gurus like the earth, the air, like that. So the Avadut Brahmana, not Dattatreya. So the Avadut Brahmana, his example is given here, which Lord Dattatreya is quoting from 24 gurus example. So as recommended by the Brahmana Avadut, one can strengthen the teachings received from one's Acharya and avoid transgressing his orders by observing ordinary things in nature. One should not mechanically receive the teachings of one's guru. The disciple should be thoughtful and with his own intelligence realize in practice what he has heard from his spiritual master by observing the world around him. In this sense, one may accept many gurus. So one should have an acharya, a guru, and should follow his teachings. And then one can have many other gurus, because when you observe things in the world, so you learn from everything. You learn from the good, you learn from the bad. In that sense, one may have many gurus. But these gurus, they should not be against the mood of the spiritual master, of your own acharya. So, in other words, one should not hear from persons like atheist Kapila. So, this is a big purport. Prabhupada quotes from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also there. So, we see here that the internal disposition of the teacher is very important. And that internal disposition of the teacher influences the person, influences the disciple. So it is not only the knowledge, but the internal disposition is very much important. If internally the guru is experiencing the joy of spirituality, then it reflects in the disciple as well. If the guru is a Sarag guru, he is attached materially, then the disciple will also get those qualities. He'll also become a materialistic person, although in the garb of a spiritual practitioner. So that is why it is said that one should associate with a sadhu of virtuous conduct. The conduct should be virtuous not only internally but also externally. So internally, we don't know how a person is. But externally also, a person should behave like a sadhu. He should speak like a sadhu, not that he starts speaking something crazy or which something which is not according to social norms. So external things are not important, but because we cannot understand completely what is on the inside, that is why externals are given importance. That is why we see that Srila Rupa Goswami in Upadeshamrit, he is speaking about many external practices in the first 4 or 5 verses. So, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, that is the first verse. Then further few verses they speak about some social practices. Dadati Pratigrinati, Priyamakhyati Prichati. So, social practices are not part of Bhakti Yoga. Neither Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam are eternal principles of the ninefold process of Bhakti. But still, these are mentioned because they are important. So, anyways, by associating with people of inferior nature, one's intelligence becomes degraded. And when we associate with people of the same caliber, we remain at the same level. And when we associate with people who are uniquely distinguished, then our intelligence also becomes qualified like that. So Srila Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that a teacher, he should be of a very good conduct. Otherwise, his ill character will influence the student adversely. So, moreover, if a teacher or a guru is not realized himself and he lacks faith in the teachings, then it will not touch the heart of the student. So, Rupa Goswami gives an example. Just like there is a crystal and an object is kept nearby a crystal. So, the color of the object is reflected in the crystal. Similarly, the color of the guru is reflected in the disciple and vice versa. If a good guru accepts very bad disciples, he also might be adversely affected. He might fall in trouble. So, we see in today's world that there are professional speakers of Bhagavatam. They draw big crowds, and but their lectures do not have much positive influence on the audience because they themselves may not be following the teachings which are there in the book. So their main focus is following. In the modern day world of social media, following is most important. How much followers you have. And these followers are also not genuine followers. They are just a number on the internet. So such professional speakers are compared to a spoon which is used to serve sweets. So when a spoon is used to serve sweets, the spoon itself never tastes the sweets, which it dispenses. So in Vrindavan, there are also schools to train professional speakers of Bhagavatam. And the objective of these schools has nothing to do with God realization. On the other hand, we see that Jad Bharat here, he is not some charismatic speaker. So he is roaming around like a mad person. But he is a God realized person, and that is why he is full of knowledge. Another important point which is to be made is that the teacher should also test the student. He should not impart knowledge to an unqualified student. So, in the past, gurus were very strict and they would not teach everyone. So, they will make sure that the students' interest is in bhakti alone, and not in becoming famous or in some other profit. So there are many examples. We see Narottam Das Thakur is refused by Lokanath Goswami for a long, long time. Ramanujacharya is refused by his guru 18 times. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati is refused by Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj for a long, long time. So at present, such strict testing of students is missing. And sometimes it might happen that the teachers or gurus, there is competition between them to acquire more and more disciples or students. And for this reason, the standard of spiritual practice has gone down in comparison to what it used to be a few decades back. So the prospective student should basically be detached, and the guru should also be detached, and he should also taste the spiritual nectar. And we also saw that the family background and the character of teacher is not very important if the teacher is very advanced. So if one is fortunate enough to encounter a guru of the stature of Jada Bharat, then the question of his family background or character loses all relevance. Then this question should not be asked that you come from which family. The investigative power of the disciple then should be served to study under that guru. And so certainly if the words of the teacher can be free, or if the words of the teacher can free the student from lust and greed, anger, and the teacher himself must be free from these base qualities. So there is no need of asking about the background of the teacher. And if one cannot find a guru of this caliber, generally in the Kali Yuga, people don't find gurus like that. There are no highly qualified gurus like that. So then what they do? They go here and there, they accept so many teachers, and they don't know what exactly is to be done. So, so we saw the example of 24 gurus. So there the gurus are accepted. They are not all human gurus. They are not gurus who are giving oral instruction. So there are gurus from the nature, like the air, the earth, some animals, tree, like that. So this example of accepting many gurus is not meant to negate the need for a single living human preceptor, especially for those on the path of bhakti. In bhakti, one should have one mantra guru, diksha guru, and study from him. And if there are subjects which the diksha guru is unable to teach or is physically incapable of teaching, then one can study with his permission from other teachers who have a complementary mood and they are not inimical to his own guru. So this is the principle of accepting a qualified guru, which we understand from these verses. So we can stop here. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful nectarian. Let me unmute the lines. Like some of the points that are noted, like you have nicely summarized, like how to accept a guru and who can be considered as qualified guru and the qualities of a guru. So like first it started with Rahuguna, like how even Rahuguna was intelligent person and he could understand the caliber of Jada Bharat. So then when he offended, so he was very afraid that very fearful of offending Brahmana. So he was begging forgiveness, and then we talked about next verses, and then we mentioned about there are the many paths, and these paths cross over many times. Like example here given is kirtan is the part of bhakti, but Gnana path also they take up the kirtan. So then you mentioned about a guru not only have the knowledge, but they should be self-realized, experiencing the spiritual joy inner. So then only like he can share the true knowledge with others. So then you mentioned, you quoted from the Yoga Sum verses, which he took from the Brahma Vaivarta Purana, like the two types of gurus, Saraga and Niraga. And Saraga is the one who does not affect the people, and they are the greedy and selfish, and they don't have internal realization, and they just give the instructions to the students without testing, and that will further lead to the downfall of the society. And then mentioned about it, elaborately described about the Niraga, and which is like they are the realized teachers and experiencing the deep spiritual joy inside, and they also have the full of realized truth. And in that case, like we no need to check what their background, so background does not matter, and they are experiencing the spiritual joy. Then we can share that joy with others. And I mentioned about a guru of Niraga may not be available. So then we might think of selecting the many gurus. And then the example given was how the Brahmana accepted the 24 gurus of the nature. And then you mentioned about how uh, one should accept the only one guru and acharya. And then if there are other things, lessons that does not contradict the original guru, one guru, so then it's okay. But otherwise, we should not take so many lessons. And then you mentioned about the how the gurus also should behave. So we may not know what is their internal things, but the external also they should behave properly, and they should be same, like no duplicity, internal and externally, and they should not violate any of the social norms that we follow. And then you mentioned about how the professional speakers have the lot of followers, but it does not affect the followers. So very nicely you have summarized, Prabhuji. So lines are already unmuted, and you can ask any questions or comments. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, once again.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I just had one question based on the discussion today. Prabhu, if you look at within ISKCON, we as practicing sadhakas, we have this tendency to listen to various lectures from various devotees, especially now with YouTube, I mean the digital media. So going by what we were discussing today, even though there are, like say the philosophy is the same, there is no this thing, but then the qualities that are inherent in each of them, that also percolates or it comes to the listener. So thereby, will it not confuse them too much? And just to clarify, I'm not talking about Maharaj or disciples of Srila Prabhupada. I'm not talking about them. But then we have so many lectures, so people do tend to listen to them. So what's your take on that, Prabhuji? How do we reconcile this? Should we, I mean, is it okay to go ahead and listen, or should we be a little cautious about it?
So, Srila Prabhupada, he created this program of daily Bhagavatam class where we have to hear different people every day. And so when we hear different speakers every day, or we might be hearing them on YouTube, so that is fine, because as we discussed earlier, that if they have the mood which is not contrary to the mood of our Guru, then we can hear from them. At the same time, as we discussed, Rupa Goswami gives this example that an object which is placed near a crystal although it does not affect the crystal so much, but definitely its color will be reflected in that crystal. So it's not that the crystal shape will change or it will melt down, but some effect will be there. So similarly, when we are hearing from different, let's say if we are hearing from a speaker for a long period of time, then that mood will also reflect in us. It will start reflecting in us. So when it comes to hearing from speakers, that we should do and we should appreciate what they are speaking, provided they are speaking from Parampara. Because that is the process which is made by Prabhupada. It is given to us by Prabhupada. But when it comes to following a person, as we discussed in the class, that we should have uh, one guru or maybe few Shiksha gurus, but they should be selected. So we cannot follow the instructions of 10 people in life. So we should hear more from the person who has taken charge of our life, who has taken responsibility of our life. It might he might be our Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. So we should hear more from him. Of course, it can be according to our inspiration also. So we are inspired by someone and we accept him as our Diksha Guru or Shiksha Guru. Then we hear more from him, so that we develop that similar mood and we also get the guidance from that personality and we move ahead in that direction. And from other speakers, we can continue to hear, take inspiration as well. So this is to be understood. I think this is the principle which we can follow. But there is no problem in hearing from devotees who are speaking from Parampara. So, but just like, when it comes to Upasana Kand, means worship of certain deity. So the Vedas have three kands: Karma Kand, Jnana Kand, Upasana Kand. So Upasana Kand means worship of different deities, which also includes demigod worship. And the highest end of Upasana Kand is Bhakti Yoga, or worship of Lord Vishnu, Krishna, or Narayana, like that. So there also, one is supposed to have one Ishta, that there is one form of the Lord who is your Ishta, whom you worship, whom you hold in your heart. And with that focus, when you worship him, then you can go back to his loka. Similarly, when we are following Guru, so we should have some focus. So we should follow our Guru with focus. So we should hear more from him. We can hear from others as well. And we see that example in our Guru Parampara also. That devotees, they hear not only from the Diksha Guru, but they hear from other Shiksha Gurus as well. But the mood of the Guru has to be kept in focus. And if other people's speech encourages us to walk on the path of our own Guru, his mood and his teachings, then we can hear from that person more. And if he has a little different mood, which is fine, because spiritual life means variety. Like we see that followers of Lord Chaitanya, so much variety. They have different moods also. They have different groups also. Similarly, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, different moods, different services which they have undertook for pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So variety is always there in spiritual. and that also has to be appreciated. So one has to walk on that fine line that one follows the mood of his own guru and also appreciates the variety which is there in spiritual life.
Mm. Prabhu, thank you so much. Thank you for clarifying so nicely, especially that example of Ishta Devata and then how we should look at it from that perspective. Similar perspective with the Guru also, and then hear one's own Guru, and then hear from the others if there is some more of this thing needed. So thank you, Prabhu. That makes so much of sense. Thank you so much. Clarified a lot.
Hare Krishna, any other devotees have questions? I think everybody is clear, Prabhuji, as always, your classes. Thank you, Prabhuji. I had I think last time you told that you were going